Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This is a short video, and I figured I would take a little bit of a break from that top 10 series, or top 15, or I even forget, series that I've been doing, to talk a little bit about CGC. Now, I know everyone has their opinions about CGC, and I like CGC very, very much, but I sometimes can't turn my back to some of the things that I really don't like about them. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I got a couple of examples about a particular issue that I don't like about CGC, and it'd be nice to see in the comments what you think. So first and foremost, I really like CGC, as you know, and I've said many times in many videos that I really truly believe that if you have any sort of interest in investing in your collection, you should always invest in your collection. You should have them graded, your books graded, because you just never know what the future holds, whether you have to sell because of whatever financial distress comes your way, especially when you look at the economy and what most likely will be in 2025. I don't really predict too many good things, and sometimes this will affect people and their wallet, and you may have to sell certain things in order to get by. I understand that sucks, but I understand that. Or when it comes down to when you leave your stuff behind, to whom you leave it behind and what they're going to do with it, and maybe they want to get rid of it. I truly do believe that whether that's your thinking or not, you have thinking in other terms when it comes to your collection. I do feel strongly, no matter what, that getting your books graded and having that grade on the book really solidifies confidence in people that are buying books. And I know sometimes we deal with the people that nope, I buy raw. But I'll tell you this, one last thing before I get into some of the issues. Sometimes I sell books. For those that follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, I sell books to get upgrades or to get better books. Maybe because I no longer like the books that I have or whatever. I don't consider myself a flipper. I don't buy collections or I buy books necessarily to sell at a later time. There are a few that I will do that, but not really a lot. I would say that's less than 5% of the books that I buy. It's usually because I'm thinning out my collection, trying to keep the books that I really, really want, or I want to upgrade the books that I really, really want. But I'll say this, selling raw books sucks. It sucks. People think that they can press books to get a grade that's better than what you have listed. People constantly arguing about grades. It sucks. So that's another reason why I say getting your books graded, I think, cuts out a lot of that chatter and a lot of that noise. But again, despite all that, sometimes there are problems. One of the issues I have with CGC when it comes to grading their books, now I know a lot of people say that, well, sometimes, you look at a 7.0 or a 6.0 CGC and you shake your head, and I don't know how they got that grade, thinking that it's lower than that. And I agree. I know one of the things about CGC, there are many things that go into a CGC grade. Too many for me to even talk about. But I know one of the big things when it comes to grading is CGC really dislikes stains on books. I know when they get to a certain grade, if you have like a couple of stains or whatever, they're going to shoot your book down. And one of the things that I've noticed that bothers me about that is this. I've seen several higher grade books. Now, I'm not talking like 9.6 or 9.4s per se, but books that are like 7.5, 8.0 that have staple rust stains. Sometimes they're very, very slight. They're not gigantic, but stains nonetheless. And I've noticed that CGC will still give them those grades, like 7.5, 7.0. And I just don't get it. And then there'll be books that have maybe a little bit of a moisture stain, or a couple of them that will get 6.0, but the rest of the book looks pretty good. Looks better than that 7.0 or 7.5 I was just talking about. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that sometimes when it comes to staining, at least from my observation, some of you out there that maybe are a little more knowledgeable about CGC grading or whatever it is, but at least from what I've seen, I think that when it comes to staining, CGC when it comes to the staining that I mentioned, staple rust staining compared to just moisture staining, I think CGC is a bit inconsistent. And I wish they would be a little more consistent with it. And that's just my observation. Again, it's my observation. I'm not saying that that is the observation of everybody else. You know, as you know, I collect a lot of CGC books. I get a decent amount of books graded every few months. So I see things, or I'm looking for things, and I've noticed things when I'm buying these slabs. And that's something that I've noticed, quite frankly, over the last couple of years, which bothers me. So the inconsistencies, more or less. And I'm pretty sure there are other inconsistencies when it comes to CGC grading and quite frankly other grading companies that you've noticed. But you got to sometimes take into effect that, or at least take into account rather, that human error does exist. There's human error in a lot of different things, and grading comic books, whether you're looking at a raw book or trying to put a raw book into a slab, it exists there as well. So you have to take that into consideration, take that into account as well. But one of the other things that really bothered me, you could hear the crunching because obviously I have 2 CGC slabs in Mylar bags. Probably been hearing that throughout the whole video. If you haven't, great. But the other thing that I wanted to show you, and that bothers me at least about CGC as of late, not CGC in the past. I've noticed over the last year, maybe year and a half with graded books, especially since that whole scandal with CGC where somebody was scamming people, taking the books out and doing something where they were putting other books in that got higher grade, that on a higher grade slab. I don't know how the hell that happened, but I know that that's been happening. That was something about 6 months ago. But anyway, or at least it's come to light. But anyway, since at least I've noticed, especially around that time period, I don't like the fact, and maybe you've noted this too, that the book that's in the inner well, it's not as secure as it used to be. When you used to get a slab and you would shake it like this or whatever, it felt like it was sturdy. But here we have like a Voltahard. I think this is a book I got slabbed last year. And this is another book that was slabbed recently. I bought this book and I looked it up on the notes and I found out it was slabbed recently. But this is what I'm talking about. Let me see if the sound of the camera catches this. It's a little hard with this, but let me take it out. So hold on 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. Took it out of the Mylar. That's going to make too much noise to deafen what I'm talking about. But see if you can hear this. You hear that? The book, as you know, for anybody that buys these things, and it's the same thing with this, so I don't really have to show the same thing. But it's been consistent with a lot of these books I've been getting back. The book is put inside some sort of inner plastic holding, and then it's put into the big plastic. But that inner plastic is loose. Now with the older slabs, and I have plenty of them, the inner part seems to be sealed along the edges of the larger plastic shell, where you don't hear that jiggling or jostling inside the slab. So I don't know why this gets past quality control at CGC. And, not that CGC is watching any of my videos. Barely anybody watches my videos nowadays, let alone CGC. But I would think that would be, we could talk about the inconsistencies with grading and everybody's having an opinion and all that, the stain thing that I brought up earlier. We could talk about that till we're all blue in the face. But I think we can all agree on one thing here. What I just showed you, that's like a quality control issue, and I don't know who's in charge of quality control at CGC, but that should not be. The inner part of the slab, that holds the book, should not be jostling back and forth. Now, granted, you're not going to be taking your books and swinging them around like I just showed you, but even when you do this, now you may not hear it on camera, or maybe you do, I don't know. Even just moving it around gently, you hear it go back and forth, back and forth. I mean, that shouldn't be. They should be, really fastened at the corners where the thing doesn't move. So I don't know how CGC thinks that that's okay, especially in transport, because you just never know what could happen when it comes to that. I'm pretty sure nothing will happen, but it just seems like they need to get somebody else, another group of people or another person, whoever's in quality control, to say, no, we need to fix our slabs. They should not be, the inside of the book should not be jostling. There should be no movement whatsoever. They should be fastened, secure, like a raw book in a nice tight Mylar with a couple of fullbacks in the bag. Doesn't move like a brick. Should be the same way here. And that's my opinion. So those are some things that I have a complaint about when it comes to CGC. There are inconsistencies when it comes to staining. What staining seems to be more acceptable than others, at least from my point of view, and the looseness of that plastic that holds the book inside the larger case. It drives me crazy. It really does. And that's just the way things are. It's not like, well, it's just a couple of my books. I've noticed that with books that I've purchased that were recently graded and books that I've graded. It seems to be the norm now, for at least what I've noticed. And it shouldn't be. I really would like it if CGC can fix that moving forward. Because, sometimes people, when they buy these books and they're thinking, oh, what's this? What's going on here? People that spend a lot of money on books that may not know that this seems to be the norm at CGC. Might get a little annoyed and concerned about it. I don't think that's the same when it comes to CBCS. I think I bought a recent slab of CBCS, a regular Bronze Age DC horror, no big deal. 8.0 book. It's pretty secure. That feels like really secure. This, when you hear that, makes it seem like it's cheap. But that's just me. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching. More top book videos on the way, including another comic book haul. So stay tuned. Take care, everybody.